Hey, this is Immanuel Jarvis with Jireh Family Farm. I want to tell you about a vegetable and a part of a vegetable that you may be throwing away every single week. That's the best thing that you'll eat all week. Stay tuned.
Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
Have you ever gone to the grocery store and looked for celery and you're looking for nice long stalks? And when you come home to prepare your dish, what do? You cut off the leaves and you throw the leaves away to prepare your dish. Well, I want to teach you something about celery leaves that you're not going to believe. Celery leaves are actually the most nutritious part of the entire plant. Celery has a massive amounts of vitamin K. Celery also has free radicals that help to fight against cancer. Celery leaves themselves actually support gut health. And believe it or not, they also lower cholesterol and also high blood pressure. It's amazing. And a lot of times we've been throwing away these leaves. The problem is that have you ever tasted a celery leaf? It's really strong, very herbaceous, and you think to yourself, ugh, I can never cook with this. But I want to show you a recipe today that's going to change all of that. Today we're going to be making something I've never made before. It's called a celery pesto. You've heard of basil pesto. We're going to be using celery, using the leaves of celery and making a beautiful pesto and actually putting it in a rice and making herbaceous rice. The first thing we're going to do is I need to get some celery. And I've been growing this celery for quite a while. And one of the reasons why it led me to looking at leaves is because look at these celery. I mean, it's all leaves and no stalk. When you go to the grocery store, you're looking for a long 14-inch stalks, with just very limited leaves. And then I look at this guy and these right here, and they don't have a lot of stalk on them at all. But you know what? Instead of throwing them away, instead of considering them a loss, I have amazing recipe for them. This up. I want to make sure I get as much root as possible. So go really nice down in here and pull that whole thing up. And then little by little, we'll knock off all the dirt, this beautiful dirt that we have here, until we have our plant. You can see here, there's a lot of leaves on here. The stalks are very, really short. And if I didn't know this recipe, I would think that this whole thing is going to go in the compost because it's what's the use for me. But I'm going to continue just to take off this dirt here and clean it up. And when I do that, I don't want to leave any dirt out. This dirt is so valuable to me, so valuable to the earth, and so valuable to the garden. And so we don't want to waste any of it. So what I'm going to do is kind of get as much as these roots cleaned up as possible, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut it right from the bottom here, wash it off in the sink inside, and we'll get started with our recipe. Now we're gonna go ahead and cut this up, cut the end off. There we go. Pesto, I love it. You know why? Pesto has this amazing flavor that has herbs and nuts and a little bit of cheese in it. It's just great, along with the garlic. And so think about this. If you had a whole bunch of pesto and you just had a regular old broiled chicken, but instead of just doing regular broiled chicken, you put that pesto all over it with a little bit of cream sauce, all of a sudden your kids think that you're a chef. Or you put that in an Alfredo dish. So I love using pesto, and we have a basil tree outside the bush. And at the end of the season, around September, when I know the temperature's starting to go down, I'll pull all the leaves off of it, make a big old vat of pesto. And sometimes I'll put that in ice cubes and freeze it. So later on in the season, when basil is not around, what I'll do is I'll just pop out an ice cube that has pesto in it, throw it right into my chicken dish, throw it right into my pasta dish, and have an amazing dish for everyone that evening. Today, instead of doing a basil pesto, we're gonna change it up and do a celery pesto. So the main ingredients again are celery leaves, not celery, but the celery leaves. We'll cut those off and use the celery leaves. We normally have been putting them in trash. Today we're actually gonna be utilizing celery leaves. Celery leaves, we're gonna be using, instead of pine nuts, which are very expensive, we're gonna do it with a simple salted almond. So we're gonna use celery leaves, salted almond, minced garlic, Parmesan cheese, salt and pepper to taste, and we're going to put that all together with olive oil. Put that in the food processor. We're going to have a nice, beautiful paste. Let's get started. Let's go ahead and chop this up. You don't really have to chop it a lot because we're going to be putting it in the food processor. But what I would like is that when it does go in the food processor, it's able to grind up very quickly. So we'll just do this. That's good. Nothing serious. That's enough for what we're looking for. Again, the stalks here, leaves here. Okay, so we have our celery leaves. We have our salted almonds, probably about a half a cup. Then we also have our Parmesan, grated Parmesan, about a quarter of a cup. Same thing with our garlic, and of course we're gonna be using salt and pepper as we do this. And we're going to be adding our olive oil when I put it all together. Before I close it up, I want to go ahead and put my olive oil in here. So we have enough. I don't have a lot in here, but I think just add just enough. Keep it all together. I think that'll work. And if it doesn't, well, it's gonna have to. Okay, so we have our little mini food chopper here. Believe it or not, I didn't spend $80 or $90 on this thing. This little guy right here came from Aldi's, and I think it was maybe $10. It gets the job done, so I'm really happy about it. So let's get started. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good, I like it. Now, let's see how it tastes. Nutty. It's amazing that between the garlic and the Parmesan and the nuts and everything, it breaks down that bitter taste. Sometimes people ask me, Immanuel, why do you cook your rice like this? You do the oil and the rice, just a little bit of oil, and what's happening? Well, what's actually happening, I learned this from my dad, who's an executive chef, is that when you use the rice and the oil initially in the pan, and you're able to stir that up, you're able to release all the aromatics of the seasonings and the spices, and also the rice, giving it more flavor. So that's the reason why I do the way I do. All right, we got a good boil going on here, and now I'm gonna show you what the magic is. Right in there. I'm gonna stir that right in. Almost. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so here we have it. We have our celery pesto rice. You can see the different colors in it. One of the things that you'll notice, remember when I was telling you about toasting your rice prior to putting your water in it? Well, when you toast it, those aromatics come out. They have different colors too. It's not burned. What you can tell is it's just the rice is more flavorful, and it's something you should really try. But there you have it. All right, let's try this rice out. I appreciate this rice. And the reason why is I know that I'm not wasting anything out of my garden, number one. Number two, I know the leaves in that pesto and in that rice has turned it into a simple starch, and it's gone into something that's actually good for my body. It's helping me in terms of blood circulation, cardiovascular. It's helping with giving me free radicals. It's helping to battle all sorts of viruses and things that are going on right now. And it tastes good too. I mean, it tastes good. It's just not rice, but you taste the herbs. You can there's hints of nuttiness in the cheese and the garlic all mixed up in there. So, you have that with a nice pork chop and some string beans, and your family's gonna be good to go. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it. Make sure that you like our channel. The thing about it is that, when you go to a restaurant and you really, really like the food and you really, really like the service, what do? You give the server a tip for outstanding service. Well, if you think this video is outstanding or even good, here's a tip that you can give that doesn't cost you a cent. It's the little button down there that has a thumbs up. Press on it. It helps us out a lot. Really appreciate it. Thank you for visiting Jireh Family Farm.